Hey guys, DW here. Just want to let you know if you haven't yet, come over and visit us at fanboysinc.com. That's right, fanboysinc.com. We're not just great podcasts, we're so much more. We got some great articles, reviews, news, videos, so much going on. New content is put up all the time, so come out and check us out over there. It's a great time. Also, of course, while you're there, why don't you listen to a podcast, 2 or 3? That's right, we have Inkcast out every Wednesday. We have Infinite Crossover out every Thursday. And we have Geek Girls Nerd Boys out every Friday. Some great content for everybody out over there. While you're there, why don't you subscribe? We're also on iTunes and Stitcher. All 3 of those podcasts are out on those 2 platforms. Stitcher is great for your mobile devices. Subscribe there, get it instantly the minute it's uploaded. It's a good time over there, and it's great. You listen on your tablets, your mobile phones, even your PC. So like I said, check us out, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. So that's enough of me blabbing here. Let's get on to another great FBI podcast. Peace.
Hello, and welcome to Geek Girls Nerd Boys. If I sound about 20% cooler right now, it's because I have a beautiful new mic that makes me sound all velvety smooth.
Anyway, even though it's hardly spoiler alert theater anymore since most of these films are now coming out on DVD, Mike and I are going to take a look at these summer blockbusters and just what we thought of what we saw and what might have gotten looked over. Mike, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me back, Tom. I am already sighing for the morning of this summer's film season. You can already tell I don't have that positive of a spin on what we saw this summer, and I'm excited to talk about it a great deal.
You're probably gonna get searched at the border. You could wear a disguise.
Bane from Batman, something like that. Oh, there's no drugs in here. You have nothing to worry about.
All right, you mutinous, disloyal, computerized half-breed.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
You stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
You shall not pass!
Welcome to Geek Girls, Nerd Boys.
I don't know about you, but I feel like credit got taken from things that deserved it and given to things that didn't. And then at the end of the day, genuine stinkers were just thrown at us nonstop.
As you're from the Tower of Sour podcast, why don't you tell us what you saw from the bottom up in terms of your overall rating?
All right. This is how I have to preface my rating system. When I go to a summer movie, I want to have fun.
Oh, and it's more about entertainment.
I want to enjoy myself. Sorry, I just set my drink down. I want to enjoy myself. And I feel like the one movie that got just the most praise, and I didn't have any fun. But from the bottom up, I got to go the one everyone loved, which is Wolverine. It was genuinely the worst summer movie experience I've had in a couple summers. And just to watch everybody be like, this adds so much soul and character development to the progress and evolution of this person. It's like, what are you talking about? What is this nonsense? I mean, because really, the Wolverine storyline, and now this is just me, how I've heard it framed before. It's the Tom Cruise or the Matthew McConaughey framework where if you ever watch those guys' movies, they always play these characters that do not change by the end of the day. And Will Smith is starting to do that now with like After Earth, where in the
You actually saw After Earth?
I listened to the episode of How Did This Get Made, and it was explained. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is what I've been saying with War of the Worlds. Whereas there's no advancement or lessons learned in the main character. It's just all the ancillary characters that turn to him and go, you were right. Oh my God, you were right the whole time. And that was, I feel like
that was the last Mission Impossible as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That is the single best example of that framework in the modern, like, big blockbusters. Everybody was just like, oh my God, Tom, you were right the whole time. Even Jeremy Renner, who is Hawkeye, like making that $1 billion Disney money, got like thrown into this movie where he had to like literally at the end of the movie, Jeremy Renner smacks his forehead with the guffaw look on his face. Like, oh, Tom, you had it the whole time, man. I can't believe it. Like, it's so crazy how they do that. And in Wolverine, spoiler alert for the Wolverine here. Like when it just turned out that he had like those little like Minority Report bugs on his heart on the inside of his chest. And that was the only thing. It was like, oh, so that's the only thing holding you back at all. And as soon as that was like taken care of, it was like back to being the old guy know and like love, I guess, according to financial return.
From the ground up, that movie was just pretty awful. I knew as soon as regular listeners know this, but performances carry the movie for me, for better or worse. And as soon as the first couple lines of dialogue were out of the gate, it was very much, this is gonna be rocky.
Yeah, you know what this summer was, at least on two fronts in the stinker categories here, are the summer of saying Japanese women's names in like a distressed tone. you had Mako in Pacific Rim and like Miro or whatever her name is in the Wolverine.
Maro, maybe one of those two.
Maro, you're getting real close. But it's, one of those double syllable M names, and she's just like super subjugated the entire time. And every every Japanese actor you'd expect in the mix is in the mix. Like, I was just waiting for Ken Watanabe to show up shot in the middle of the Inception scene, like, don't forget about me. He was off filming some other, I'm pretty sure he was filming the Unforgiven remake at that time, which looks so much better than anything we've seen this summer. Look up the trailer for the Japanese remake of Unforgiven, listeners. You will not be disappointed. It looks so awesome. All right, moving on.
I liked Hawkeye Yojimbo, though, that was in the middle of all that mix. He was probably my favorite character, and even he had zero motivation.
What was his motivation? He turned out to be like a double traitor with like apparently no moral compass whatsoever. It was like somebody who had just seen Japanese movies with no understanding of the concept of honor or duty and what those mean in Japanese culture, or if you're going to be a ninja, like what that entails. It was just like, no, put him in the suit and have him shoot arrows and he'll be like a sniper. But then he's like the double traitor serving the guy who, like, did anyone really think that old Japanese man was actually dead? Like,
nope.
There's no way. There's no way you thought he was for real dead in the first 5 minutes of being introduced. That's
never dead in a wide shot, brother. Never dead in a wide shot.
I've seen that trick executed better on episodes of Law & Order SVU. Like, I'm deadly serious about that right there. Like, he was never dead. He was pulling the strings. Oh, snap.
Nobody's decisions made any sense in there.
No one. And what were the mutant bad guys? What was that? Like, so useless. So useless. No
Viper
effects.
was clearly in there just to have a token mutant fight.
And no, she wasn't even sexy to me. She was like one of those like I'm trying to be sexy characters where you get like that like inner sassy black lady voice. You're like, ew, bitch, get the fuck out of me. Ew. It's like, like there's nothing about that was like sexy, and like Hugh Jackman clearly was like just phoning it in. Like I don't understand why everybody has so much love for him as Wolverine. I don't.
Not even the action scenes were good.
Your girl broke it down, man. Aaron, she posted about the math of the speed train. That was brilliant.
She was so pissed off. I was hoping she'd be able to join us tonight, but life gets in the way, right?
Yeah, well, look at our podcast. Tower of Sour hasn't updated since May. So. But that was so gorgeous because that scene bugged me so bad. So bad because like you have this like what is clearly like the set piece action shot, the like, the one money shot scene in the whole movie that you've been seeing in the commercials and all that stuff. It happens. He goes through this crazy ordeal, and then literally the next shot is him walking down the aisle, picking the girl up, like, all right, we need to leave. Let's not even have a shot of him like that was crazy. Like that would have been fine. If it was just like, oh, it's a summer movie, they're not going to deal with it for that much longer. But there should have been some point where Logan went, I just survived a bullet train fight on the top of the bullet train. That was crazy.
Business as usual.
Just wash my hands of it and just move along. Just pick up Miro, Maro, Mako, Mika, or whatever, and just then eventually get shot with rope arrows.
That whole Yakuza chase was just super way too long.
Yeah, and pointless. Like you said, nothing had any consequences or point, except when the old man was on screen. And even then, like as the bookend.
Yeah.
It had no weight.
It's a shame when your framing device for the whole thing is plot.
Ugh, isn't that unfortunate? I mean, like, this is why Pacific Rim didn't end up on the bottom of my list. Like, not even close to the bottom of my list. I give it a lot more.
Oh, no, it's pretty high up for me this summer.
Pretty high up for me. Because, like, as much as everybody liked to trash the soullessness of that movie, Wolverine did it in spades. Like, soullessness has never been so profitable in the summer blockbuster. I mean, because he kills that old man, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to get on your plane and leave now. Like, we're not even going to talk about everything that's happened here.
And I appreciate them trying to tie it in historically, like First Class did, and giving Magneto's backstory, which is awesome. But why is he in a hole? Why is he saved this guy in the first place? Why are you even going back to his funeral? You've obviously had no contact with him for 50 years now.
Oh, God. There's so much. I'm getting so off track as far as as narrative or like a solid see-through discussion point. Because it's like when this movie starts, you are to, like, as a viewer, I was told you need to assume all of the history of the X franchise. Like, you have to know this. You need to know who Famke Janssen is, why any of her scenes matter at all. And they don't. There's never, like, he doesn't teach him a lesson. He doesn't learn anything because he's more off hurting. His lesson was, I should kill. Like, that was I was wrong. I should kill.
I am who I am.
I am who I am. But are you serious? Like, we're really like, he's got the forearms for it. It makes sense. Hugh Jackman is Popeye. I mean, it makes sense. But I could go on about this, dude, like a bullet train of sorts.
Yeah.
I could go on about this movie and how much I don't like it and everything that was wrong about it. I have one more thing before you say anything, which you haven't in like 5 minutes, and I thank you for that.
No, it's fine. I enjoy your rants, brother. That's why we have you on.
The issue of the adamantium harvesting. Like, in X2, the scene where he's turned into Wolverine, like he goes from Logan to Wolverine, they even say it. The problem with adamantium is once you get it, it's hard to deal with because you have to keep it liquid and you have to keep it in this state, blah, 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 and it's actually really well done. Then it jumps to this movie and they just say it in one line of dialogue. The guy from The Last Samurai who eventually comes around, who's the father in this movie, who gets stabbed in the neck by the Viper, he just says one line, like, the old man's been getting as much adamantium as he can get his hands on. We have no idea what he's doing with it up there in the north. And it's just like, nobody went, who's this hookup? How's he get adamantium? The U.S. government can't even get adamantium. Let's talk about how he's getting adamantium.
From the sci-fi black market, you can get it right next to the stall that sells unobtainium.
Look, even if they had just been like, have you heard of Hydra? Well, they still exist, and they're selling weapons in Madripoor. I'd have been like, yes, fine.
No,
fine.
we can't mention Hydra because this is a Fox property, and Hydra's owned by Marvel Films.
Well, goddammit, Mystique just tried to buy Madripoor in the newest X run, so that should have helped. God damn it. Like, I am trying to help this movie so much, but the thing that kills me is it didn't need any help. It did the best out of all the blockbusters. It got the highest ratings, the best critical reviews. Like, people talked about it like there were acting performances where there were none. And
yeah, I didn't get it. I thought, did I see a different movie than everybody else?
People I respect were, like, loving on this movie.
And quick side note, now, I don't have nearly the problem with X3 that everybody else does. In fact, I quite like it.
X3 is so much... I actually went back and watched X3 after seeing the Wolverine.
So did I last week.
Like, this movie's so much better. Oh my God, there's like other characters.
But for one that, aside from Origins, was pretty much panned as the next worst X-Men movie, they did a lot of referencing back to that.
They sure did. I mean, like, it really relied on you knowing the history of the, like, if you just
at least the cinematic X-Men history.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, and not only that, there's so many continuity holes in this movie that just kill me. Like, they never once mention Wolverine took a shot from a shotgun to the chest with no armor on and no healing ability, or at the very least a very, very low healing ability. And like anatomically speaking, your rib cage isn't an actual plate. Like something should get through.
There's a couple holes in there. Much like the plot.
And not even that, like, okay, even if your bones are adamantium, and that's the whole, because I had to check online, and that's how they explained it. His bones are adamantium, so he can sustain these wounds. The pressure and the mere physics of traveling at like 400 miles an hour on the outside of the vehicle, like that would have ripped his arm off when he planted down into the thing. And like, stop, there's like, he has no mutant healing ability, so the physics, like, it would just rip his face off. Like those regular Japanese guys on the top of the thing. It was like, how are they alive? After 1 second on the top of this thing, how have they not breathed in so much oxygen that they fainted and then fell? Because that's what would have happened.
Well, even taking, practical physics out of it, like that clearly wasn't the lowest point of the movie.
Oh, there's so much. Like the samurai sword. Like the guy shows Logan how to hold the samurai sword, and that was like his secret code to operate the sword. You mean to tell me that a franchise that has established Logan was born in like colonial America? He had, up to World War II in 1942, he had never seen a samurai sword or seen someone hold a sword. Certainly not, one of the Chinese people he could have seen building the railroad in the Wild West, or a Japanese person on the Hawaiian coast or something. Like,
look, we all saw Jonah Hex. There was no samurai swords there.
it's killing me, man. Like, there's so many things. Like, this character is hundreds of years old, and he had never seen someone hold a samurai sword. Not even in a book. Not even in an illustration. You've got to be kidding me. And then that...
He doesn't strike me as the well-read type.
I'm not saying he's like reading Harper's or like Lamar, go fetch me my Harper's. Like, it's not like he's not Brother Muzan, but that's for the wire nerds out there. But yeah, I could spend a whole episode tearing this movie apart. I really could. I feel like it's unjustifiably held up to a point where it's like other movies that were so much better got trashed because of it.
All right, I'm just going to put my little cap on it. I've said it before, and I'll probably have to wind up saying it again. But it seems in the big 3 or 4 companies that are making comic book movies these days, it seems that Fox and Sony make comic book movies by the book. They make comic book movies.
Right.
Kind of cheesy, melodramatic superhero movies. DC Warner Brothers, Green Lantern aside, make cinematic movies that happen to be about comic book characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel Disney make movies that make you excited for comic books.
Right. And you're absolutely right, man. I actually have been using your mantra because it is so apt.
Well, thank you, sir.
I gotta move on, and I have to say, like, I'm gonna preface this movie by saying I didn't see it. And it's the only reason it didn't get the bottom spot, because if I had seen it, I'm willing to bet I would have swapped the two out. But The Lone Ranger, everybody knows.
Oh, that doesn't count.
We're not counting the biggest flop of them all.
No, I didn't see it either, so I don't really have
All right, let's just say, as far as that goes, now that it's been a flop and it didn't do like a success and everyone Dunson had to hold their tongues, what Johnny Depp did was racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Red face is just as bad as blackface. It's like, you can't be like, oh, well, he lives in France and he's not an American and he's cultured. He's part Native American. I don't care. If it sounds anything close to heap 'em big trouble, white man, we got ourselves a problem. We got ourselves a genuine problem, partner. Moving on.
Yeah, all I need to say, if you're curious about what actually happened with the Lone Ranger, because by box office numbers, chances are you haven't seen it. Go check out the Comedy Film Nerd spoiler alert episode for the Lone Ranger. They cover it in detail. Painful, excruciating detail.
Yeah, the only thing I know for sure is there was a 40-minute segment that involved werewolves that was cut out of a 2.5-hour long movie. So
they made the perfect comment saying that it felt like everybody at Disney got to pick their favorite ride or something about the park and throw that aspect in there.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Like, it opened up like the Hall of Presidents. Like, Tonto is a statue that comes to life and tells the story. Like, that's the framing device for the whole movie.
Oh no.
Go check out that episode, Comedy Film Nerds. It's been one of my favorite new podcast, not new because they've been going way longer than we have, but new for me, podcasts of the summer.
So I guess if we're moving on, I'm sitting here thinking about my placement. I guess Man of Steel has to be next.
Man of Steel for me was bottom of the barrel.
And we've talked about this, I think, when Sean.
We've talked about it offline, and we talked with Jedi Roz a couple episodes back. Here, for me, Man of Steel, I was just written off. I was just waiting for it to end. Wolverine, I was upset because I wanted it to be better than it was, but
that's why I'm lampooning Wolverine as hard as I am, because I have a genuine love for the X-Men. They're my favorite. I'm reading all 3 of the major X-Men ongoings. I should be reading 4, but I'm only reading 3 because I'm not on a budget here. But that killed me inside. Like, I could give a shit about Superman, so if I had fun at that movie at all, it was like, I'm willing to give this thing a pass, but I genuinely love the Wolverine and the X-Men characters, so it's like, it has to do something for me.
Coming up next on my list from the bottom up, we start to get into the comedies. Did you see any comedies this summer?
Mention some. I know I've seen some. I haven't seen a lot of movies in theaters. I didn't see, like, The Heat.
I did see The Heat. That was a wonderful date night movie. That's a couple more spots up.
I regret not seeing The Heat.
The Heat was fun.
One thing I will say about The Heat is and it's not even a film thing. Like, this is like one of those things I'm learning to, like, be less general. The marketing department and the people that made the decisions about the poster art who photoshopped her face. And
what was up with that?
They took like 35 pounds off of her natural likeness and, like, made her look like a glamour shot that weighed significantly less than she actually does. And it's like, I get that you're trying to get butts in the seats, but everyone knows what that actress looks like because you can see her on TV. And if you didn't see her on TV, you probably saw her in Bridesmaids. And if you didn't, you can just Google
that's her archetype. I mean, not to, I'm a big guy. You're a big guy.
Yeah.
Like, she's the funny fat chick.
Right. What's wrong with that? I mean,
she's
like,
lovely.
Like, you wouldn't do that to a Zach Galifianakis.
Nope.
Like, you wouldn't Photoshop abs onto the bearded one. You wouldn't do that. So why do it with a woman? Just because she's a woman and they should look a certain way? That's ridiculous.
Although we did watch Identity Theft on demand the other day, and that was awful. But we're not talking about that. Oh,
man. Okay. That just reminded me of a movie that no one even mentioned seeing as soon as it came out, which was Paranoia. Like, didn't that get like 2% on Rotten Tomatoes? There was a summer movie that got like 4%.
It has its audience. They make these things for like $4 million, and then one opening weekend it makes 10, which by anybody else's standards is awful. They've turned a profit, so they have.
That's like how they did The Purge. They made that movie for like 10 million and made 21. They're like, well, here comes 3 more.
Yeah, just like planes.
I have to credit this to a specific person. Seth Morris, the guy that plays Bob Duca for Earwolf Media. The way he broke this down is like, this is like one of those movies like a Dungeon Siege, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale, where it's like this movie was only
That was the only movie that I ever wanted to walk out of. I actually saw that in theaters.
I have a fondness for how bad that movie is. It's one of those movies that should only be shown on moving vehicles like buses or planes or youth hostels in Europe or like halfway homes, or like a prison, and that's the only place it gets shown. Like,
I got to give a shout out to Rob Flanagan. He used to have a podcast called Shitty Movie Night Podcast, and their T-shirts read "Shitty Movie Night," where "ue" is a 4-letter word.
Shouts out to Rob Flanagan. I mean, really, the only halfway watchable movie that Uwe Boll's only ever done is Rampage, and that movie is so highly disturbing at the end of the movie. It's just like, I didn't enjoy a second of what just happened. I mean, like, it's a well-done movie, and I don't ever say that about anything Uwe Boll does, but it is well done, but it's so dark that it's like, wow, Uwe, like, if that's the dude that, like, has to make movies when he's not making crazy crap movies, make 50 more crap movies, because that shit was genuinely disturbing, and it wasn't rewarding, and I felt like it was a movie for people who are planning school shootings. Like,
wow.
I really feel like it was that bad. It was like, dude, I feel like this was a public endorsement of public violence. Uwe Boll, were the worst contemporary filmmaker of all time.
There's a YouTube video of him where he has like setting up a hut. Supposedly he moved to Africa because of the internet's petition to not let him make movies anymore.
Because that's what celebrities do that though. When you catch a lot of heat, you freak out and go to Africa.
I'll have to dig that out for the show notes because it is priceless. Yeah, the heat actually came in for me though over Iron Man 3.
Yeah, you know what? Looking back on Iron Man 3, movie didn't do anything for me. Movie did nothing for me. And it's because I don't have an affinity for the characters. Not that pressed that Shane Black directed it. I appreciate what he does. I enjoy the experience when it's happening. But I feel like it's like,
there was nothing that screamed for that to have to have been directed by Shane Black.
But also,
aside from the credit sequence.
Like, that's the last movie. Like, there's no more Iron Man standalone films with Robert Downey in the suit. So
and after that one, I don't mind.
I don't mind either because their move should have been, in my opinion, if they were gonna drop the mic and walk away, knowing it was the last one, then drop the freaking mic and walk away. Don't set it down soft. Like go out with a bang, man. Like, seriously, it's Iron Man. Like, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff at the end of that movie, and Gwyneth Paltrow was like karate chopping stuff, but seriously.
You know who really saved the day in that one? Jarvis.
Jarvis handled the whole thing at the end, right? Like,
he should get his own spinoff.
He is getting his own spinoff, my friend. Age of Ultron is like, that's how they're linking. Like, Jarvis, like, that whole thing, it's going to be Ultron. It's, like, they're not going to introduce Hank Pym until after. So that's the whole device now. That, like, Jarvis is turning into Ultron, who's now going to be played by James Spader.
You know what, Marvel? You haven't done me wrong yet, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt till at least I see it.
They picked their bad guys well. I mean, even in Iron Man 3, I was surprised they got an actor the caliber of Guy Pearce to jump around with no shirt, karate chopping stuff. Like, that was kind of ridiculous. That the guy from Memento, who like shook me to my core, is like running around. Literally, I'm not trying to like minimize it, but he literally runs around with no shirt, karate chopping stuff. It's like, this is ridiculous. But it's like, okay, Iron Man, if we're on a scale now of all these summer blockbuster movies, I feel like we've reached the exact middle for me. Like, we are at the exact middle point and we're getting better from here.
Yeah, I'm at like my 2/3 mark.
Okay, what's the one after that for you then? Because I feel like I'm being more kind.
I think I just saw more movies. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. That too.
Iron Man 3, then The Heat. Above that, we're The Millers. Surprisingly fun adventure comedy. Kind of reminiscent of the original National Lampoon's Vacation movie.
Oh, you know what? I had a feeling that was going to be like Observe and Report, where it was like genuinely too dark for comedy fans who weren't expecting it. But
no, it was light enough.
That's good. I like that. And I am a fan of Jason Sudeikis, and I am a fan of Jennifer Aniston as long as she is in a movie that's not taking her too seriously.
Oh, no, she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah.
Sudeikis actually hits a few notes that reminded me, speaking of National Lampoons, of a young Chevy Chase.
Please, Jason Sudeikis, don't turn out to be like Chevy Chase when you're older, please.
Aniston is solid. She's always solid. Even in bad movies, she's decent.
And she's just so freaking attractive. Like, there's so much about her.
Sexy as ever.
I've watched Wanderlust probably 20 times.
I haven't caught that one yet.
Such an underrated movie from last year. Justin Theroux slaughters that movie as the hippie commune leader.
Yeah.
I'm campaigning for Justin Theroux as Doctor Strange. He is the perfect dude to write the movie and star in the movie. Hear me out, people. I'm not going to get into it now, but once we get into phase 3, you can bring me back on and we can talk about it. Yeah, Wanderlust. She was great in that movie, and she's so symmetrical, and her eyes do that thing where, like, when light hit it, she has that, like, halo in her blue eyes. It's like, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. You're so attractive. I'm going to enjoy you. But I think that's one of those movies that, like, it got 41%. I did check on Where Are the Millers to research this episode. It was, like, right on the dividing line on Rotten Tomatoes, and I feel like
I think 60 is the dividing line on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's not fair. Me, I'm like 50% and we're good.
50-50, yeah.
50-50 is how it should be done. They do it like Congress. If it's 60%, then it's like it's passed. How does that, that's not how my math works. But
I think I was also a little predisposed to like it. I got free tickets from collegehumor.com was giving away free screenings. And by the time you factored in how far I had to drive and that I had to pay for parking in that city, I would have been just as better off going to pay for it. But I was also in a theater filled with other people that had gone to see it for free. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows comedy's better in a group.
Absolutely. Yeah, you should be watching it with other people, or at least one other person. I mean, if you're just sitting there by yourself, like, it does feel weird to be like bolstering or like, you know, like, like really like letting it out. Like that feels weird when you're by yourself.
Although I did see This Is the End in a theater with only one other person.
Oh.
And no, but that had like outrageous moments.
Yeah. I feel like the comedies won out in terms of quality this year, but financially maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean it's summertime and the summer comedies don't tend to do great when they're stacked up against big tentpole action movies.
Not since The Hangover, anyway. But that, you know, literally beat itself to death to the point where Zach Galifianakis is like very cryptically shitting on that franchise now. But yeah, so. Like the comedies, I feel like you almost put them in a separate category because
they're not comparable.
Because you get so wrapped up in the excitement, the natural excitement of like, okay, yeah, what's next? Like, it's not the same feeling as like having to sit down and doing like math. Like, because comedy really is like, if the math lines up, haha, that's funny, that's great. You know, like some of us, like in the summertime, you just turn off and it's like, this isn't exploding. Why isn't this exploding? I'm getting frustrated. It's genuinely frustrating right now. Moving back to the blockbusters, the one, you know, like I haven't seen it, but I feel like financially I should just shout it out. Elysium, and I know you feel very passionate about this movie.
It's pretty high up on my list.
I'm willing to bet it's number one on your list.
No, not even close.
Really? Interesting. Yeah.
It takes the bronze for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna backtrack. Let's table Elysium for a second because that
we still have a while to go before we get that high.
That. Like, we got to talk about the finances of Hollywood when we bring up Elysium, because I feel like that's the biggest, like, you can point to it and go, look, this is what's wrong.
Yeah.
But now I got to bring up the one that I had this weird, like, love for, which is Pacific Rim. I don't feel like it should have been stomped on and ripped apart.
Oh, no.
Like, what the hell? I honestly think that any movie that came out around The Lone Ranger just got destroyed. Like, anything that came out around the time of The Lone Ranger, everyone hated it publicly. Like, it wasn't cool to enjoy a movie as a critic this year. And that's, like, I don't want to get too off on that tangent, but that could be like a whole paper. Like, I feel like people just made money on not liking stuff this year, even when it wasn't warranted.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, how do you know if you're going to like something if you don't go to see it? Especially, you know, being the fanboys that we are, we want to go opening week and have that opinion and have those discussions with other people. But a lot of these weren't worth seeing.
And the ones that were got that swallowed up into this thing now. If you notice, a lot of the complaints about more and more movies are that they are too cynical. Well, so are the people. So is the viewership. I feel like this year has started something, and I hope this does not become a trend. But it feels like a lot of people are running out to see the movie before everyone else so they can be the first one to trash it and have the best Twitter joke and have the best top 20 BuzzFeed Twitter jokes about the Lone Ranger or whatever. You know, I mean, like that. It's ridiculous. It's become en vogue to not like stuff in like a biting way where it's like,
I think we're just too old for internet culture.
Dude, that's I'm treading very lightly here. These are some of the most literally like it brings things down before it even happens. Like, how do you know it's going to be that bad? We have to talk about that now that we're talking about Man of Steel, like, and all of that stuff. Why is no one like? Okay, Ben Affleck aside, I will say, putting my personal opinion out there, fuck Ben Affleck. I respect him. He is an auteur, though. He is a filmmaker. You can't make
everybody loved him 2 weeks ago.
But okay, here's the thing. You can't make The Town and Argo and be like, now I'm going to get back in a major, like, that would have been just as weird as if it was announced that Ben Affleck was going to be in Transformers. It would have been just as weird if it was like Henry Cavill has dropped out and now he's going to play Superman. It would have been just as weird. And I think a guy like that, like when you go like this, because he was really on the path of the Robert Redford. Like he was doing it right. He was doing it like George Clooney, where like he did his crappy movies like The Peacemaker, like George Clooney did back in the day. But then, you start directing your own stuff. You make Good Night and
George Clooney was also Batman.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying right now? Like, this is craziness. You can't like go forward and become like, oh, you've gone from the young guy who's now an auteur and then go back to the major film franchise. Like, you gotta only move forward here. Like, his next move should have been like, working towards something higher.
I think there's something bigger at work than just this film, in that they want to get in good with him and use his directing chops. Probably, Snyder can't direct actors. I've said it before, and I'm going to stick by it.
Oh my god! You just blew my mind. I'm gonna try to cut you off at the heels. Are you saying that they cast Ben Affleck as Batman to be the on the field coach? Oh my god! This is a great angle, exclusive angle here. This is great. I really buy into that because that was my ultimate point about this casting choice, man. Who cares if Ben Affleck is playing Batman when you still have Zack Snyder directing the movie?
Yeah.
It's still going to be cynical, and Batman is going to kill innocent people when his number one rule is don't harm anybody.
This is my way of saying, Snyder, go ahead, take your directing credit and slap it on your IMDb. But if you want to make something that's going to get me back into the theaters, like I had already written this film off, regardless of the Batman Superman San Diego Comic-Con announcement, that I wasn't going to see this film. And here I am talking about it. Like it's breathing new life into it for me.
I didn't know this until I looked it up for this episode. Man of Steel made $649 million worldwide. It made its money back.
In spades.
In spades. Like it did just as good as the Avengers or the Dark Knight Returns or Rise or any of those movies. But like, again, it has become so chic to take a crap on movies. Like you can't even say, well, that movie did make more than $500 million.
Yeah, but that one was really heavily loaded front couple weeks by you and me, our fanboy demographic going out to see it.
Well, in the United States, it didn't do. I feel like when it hit the international markets, like I feel like that's one of those movies that like just killed in India or places where you don't, because this is a movie where you don't need to know English. You don't need to know English to follow Man of Steel at all. It's just like there's clearly the bad guy, clearly the good guy. Boom, bang, bing. Fighting, destruction. Like I could see this doing so well on the international stage. But like it just got crapped on here. And very quietly did the best out of anyone money wise. I mean, like I'm not counting like your digitally animated movies that are going to slay everything. Money, because there's always going to be little kids. There's always going to be toys and DVD sales and all that stuff. Blockbuster wise, like they're going to keep using him.
55% of the total box office gross came from foreign sales.
I should be a gambling man. I'm telling you, that's crazy. And they knew that too. And they did not care because like no one, if you notice when they were shitting on The Lone Ranger, like Johnny Depp got up and spoke in defense of the movies and like attacked like, oh, it's Hollywood that's pulling the movie down. I don't know.
No.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right because if Hollywood was pulling the movie down, then Man of Steel would have made more than $500 million.
Domestically, it only made $290 million. Only.
Right, only. Another problem.
Which was 44% of the total box office. Of that 290, 116 million was opening weekend. So 40% of the overall gross. Opening weekend before even word of mouth could spread on it. That's fanboys, brother. Fanboys straight up and down.
Fanboys and then the sponsors. I mean, like Christ, how many times did IHOP show up in that movie? You know?
Or how many ads do I have to see Kevin Smith pitching? How does Superman shave? Gillette.com.
I'm holding my tongue. You just said Kevin Smith. Not a fan of him anymore. He has. I just feel like he's like, I don't know, man. He's such a sellout, and like not in a good charming way at all anymore. I can't get down with that anymore, man.
That's another discussion for another day. I'm still a fan, and I'll hang in there, but mostly it's odd that you kind of need an explanation to go along with his work. But once you get the explanation, you're kind of on board. It's a weird dynamic. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Fun Kevin Smith trivia. He now lives in the house that Ben Affleck used to live in.
It's so incestuous.
Ben Affleck is now Batman. Kevin Smith is living in the Batcave.
This is so incestuous. Oh, man. This is so weird. I just feel like anytime he can pop up, he pops up. And it's like, you don't need this anymore, man. Back away. But,
I liked his movie review show on Hulu last year. Spoilers.
I didn't watch it. I liked the thing he did on Netflix where they were like animating Smodcast. That was great. Yeah. I enjoyed that a great deal. That was very enjoyable, but it's like...
I'd be perfectly happy to just listen to the man talk for the rest of his days.
Yeah, I don't need to see him on screen. He doesn't need to like make a TV show about the property he owns and also probably get a piece of the ad money.
I think I'm just getting old, but I'm not even all that excited for Super Groovy Cartoon Movie.
You really just threw me for a loop.
I don't know. It's just not my type of humor. We have the opportunity to see it next weekend, and I'm just like, meh. I'd rather go drink with my friends.
Well, it's weird. Like I'm always told I would love Adventure Time, and I don't watch Adventure Time. But anytime I see like a clip, like the Making Bacon Pancake song, probably one of my favorite things in life. If you mix it up, the 10-hour-long version of Making Bacon Pancakes mixed with that Jay-Z Aaliyah song, "Da-na-na, in New York." Like it mixes so perfectly with Making Bacon Pancakes. It's amazing. So I don't know, like you're right though. Like I don't gravitate towards like excitement anywhere. Like, but it's also like it's what we're shown. Everything is so cynical. Like I feel like our cynicism is gonna always like it's, at least for me, it's gonna be one of those things. It's like, do you have a choice? Be cynical or like try and be actively happy? The low road. That's just fine.
I think it's managing your expectations going in and also managing your input before going in. If you seek out all of the trailer information or you seek out all of the behind the scenes, I was going to say WikiLeaks, that's totally inaccurate, but just like gossip and shit going in, like trying to follow every little bit of drop news or set leaks or anything like that, you're going to spoil it for yourself before you even see one frame of actual footage.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the movie that really stands out that did that this year. Dark
Knight to a point last year.
Yeah, Dark Knight. Well, that started with Dark Knight. Not Dark Knight Rises, but the Dark Knight with Harvey Dent. When they were revealing like he is definitely wink wink going to be Two-Face. Whoa! This feels like you're really revealing a lot here now. And like every movie is every trailer now has become like the version of the TV promos you see in those, like, I don't know if you have rave cinemas near you, but they do that like NBC. Now you've just got an inside look.
Oh, yeah. They do that at the beyond just the rave. They do that at any of the Cinemarks or whatever.
Yeah, right. So like anything now, any trailer for
Side note though, I miss rave cinemas. They are awesome.
We have them around here still, and they are awesome. I love rave cinemas. Shout out to the Directors Theater.
The Directors Room with the digitally scanned theatrical negative. Oh my God.
Oh, dude, it's
the
so
first
great.
time I was in one of those, the first image they threw up there was the little just green upcoming feature, like, coming soon to a theater near you. This trailer has been rated G for general audience. That green screen with the white lettering was the most gorgeous thing I had ever seen.
Like, oh, the richness. I mean, really, dude, I love those theaters. I actively seek them out as much as I can. If anything that allows, like, number one, I can bring alcohol. Number two, I can bring food. I can pick my seat if I get there before everybody else and no one can take it. Like that's like the trifecta of fanboy perfect.
Oh
like,
yeah, I love the being able to pick your seat so that you don't have to line up for a film 4 hours in advance.
Rush. Yeah, I don't even have to watch the trailers. I can just walk in and there's my empty seat in between a whole crowd of people. And if there's somebody sitting there, I get to go, nope. Out.
Mine, buddy.
Mine. Out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like it should be an enjoyable experience. Like there's things that could be done on a theater level that could make like going to the movies more fun again.
I think 80% of my complaints with theaters are other people going to the theaters.
Oh God, amen. Especially young people. Young people now, like I saw Iron Man 3 in a packed house surrounded by cologne-drenched teenagers.
Ugh.
And it was such a nightmare. They are so jaded, and like no one looks up. Everyone's looking at their phone. It's like, do you even care?
You just spent $20 on a ticket. Look at the damn screen for 1 second.
Enjoy the screen. Like people don't even do the thing we used to do when we were kids. Like it was like go to the movie, and if it's stupid, start making fun of it out loud. That was like the thing. If you didn't like it, trash it. Be a dick. Like, don't just, like, the complete detachment thing, really. It's just like, are you even there, man? Or are you just a husk of a person with a phone? Like, it's like, I could really go off on this.
No shit, brother.
Like, it is crazy. You're just in a theater, and you're just waiting for 2 hours to check your text messages. And that, I think, like, it takes a lot. It points a lot of what's wrong with the way movies are being made and the way they're being shown to people and the people who they're being shown to. Like, just the Hollywood system on a whole is just so screwed up. And it is going to come crashing down very soon if this year was any example. Because, like, last year, you had 2 of these, like, like, $500 million movies. Like, Dark Knight Rises and Avengers did it.
Avengers cleared $1 billion on its own.
Right. Avengers was a whole other beast because it was genuinely fun and sentimental and all that stuff. It hit all the right notes. But I would really prefer it to happen like this, for Hollywood to like take it down maybe $100 million on every one of the blockbusters, because like $200 million every single time, you're just going to create a culture of, well, this movie sucks. It shouldn't have. Because that's what they're saying. When they're saying it sucks, they're not saying it's bad. They're saying we shouldn't have spent $250 million.
No.
This film. That's the thing. You can't spend $250 million every single time. You can't spend $100 million on something you don't know is going to do that. Well, then if you don't know, make a $10 million movie.
Yeah.
Exponentially decrease the size of the film.
It's everybody's inflated budgets. I don't even want to dig into, how much Zack Snyder took home from Man of Steel.
And so undeservedly. Like,
that's my point.
It just showed up on the set, and it was just like, blow this up. What would it look like if we threw you into this, then it exploded?
Well, why don't we take a little break? When we come back, we're going to start getting into movies that we actually had a positive experience with.
I'm so excited.
Going into this musical break, what are you listening to right now? What should we be playing right now?
Right now, I cannot stop listening to the trailer song for GTA 5, The Chain Gang of 1974, Sleepwalking. Someone has managed to recreate the sound of Tears for Fears exactly. And it's like, I didn't know I was a Tears for Fears fan until I heard the new version of it. I was like, oh snap! I really like this shit. I was, like extra quiet about it around my guy friends. So, for real, dude, this is what's going around in your house these days. Whatever, man. I really like. It's like that Drive soundtrack, kind of like glamour LA feel, but with Tears
that
for Fears
80s synth pop type.
Yeah, but with like that chorus singing of a Tears for Fears. But I really recommend it. I think the soundtrack on GTA 5 is just looking like it's gonna be amazing.
You know what I really dug? It's a couple years old now, and I'm showing my total white boyness by referencing an Eminem song. But there was one of his samples on his last album was the vocal hook from what was the vampire movie in the 80s with the Coreys?
Oh, Lost Boys.
Yeah. From the Lost Boys.
Shall not fall.
Yeah. That was
God.
all up in that hook.
Oh my God, that's such a classic movie with like the two biggest train wrecks in Hollywood history. Why does Corey Feldman look like a female California raisin? What is going on with Corey Feldman?
What's going on that you know what a female California raisin looks like?
And this is me showing my age. I'm talking very specifically about the claymation cartoon ad campaign from 1989 that tried to like bring back like this ain't your daddy's raisins.
It's a very raisin Christmas.
Yeah, that's you know what I'm talking about, man.
Here we go, a waffling, man.
Yeah.
All right, let me pause this for a second, refill my drink, go to the bathroom, and we'll come back with the second half.
I got like a heavy dose of people that I know personally whose kids who are in their first day of kindergarten who have access to cell phones to call their parents after the first day of school. It's like, what? What are you talking about?
Wait, are there not buses? Are there not?
Well, that's the thing. It was like, not to like, yeah. The answer is yes. There's buses, and it's like, but it's like still. These kids don't stand a chance. Like, how are they going to be able to deal with other people? Like, if I can't deal with other people in a theater now, when these people, like, metastasize, or however you want to call getting older now.
when they digest their lunch?
No, I guess I mean when they turn into the spreading cancer of humanity, when it moves from one organ to their whole body.
This has been a Fanboys Incorporated network production, found on fanboysinc.com, iTunes, and Stitcher. See ya, bye.